Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another live edition of Mic'd Up Sports, the show that goes in depth with the people who build our sports community. If you're joining us live on Facebook, thank you for joining us. Feel free to drop a comment. We will read them on the air as long as they're PG. Don't want some naughty words showing up later. And if you're watching this on demand through our YouTube channel, we're glad you can join us there as well. Joining me is an athlete who is ready for the challenge of playing a shortened season amidst the pandemic. We have no idea what's going to happen in this winter sports season, but Caela Tighe of Big Lake hopes it will provide a segue, if nothing more, as she prepares for a college career at Concordia University, St. Paul. Caela, one of the big names returning for the Big Lake Hornets. And Caela, thanks for joining us. And you hold a rare distinction. Not too many athletes or sports figures in general come to me asking to come on the podcast. Usually I have to reach out to them. If you don't mind, what compelled you to share your story with us?
I think that there needs to be more outlets for people with mental health, athletes with mental health issues, things going on in their life. I think we're getting there, but I think there's always room for improvement.
Well, mental health, I imagine, a huge topic of discussion throughout the pandemic, and certainly this week. I had an extended conversation with my guest yesterday about the insurrection at the Capitol, and I know yourself and just about every other player that I follow on social media were shocked, surprised, felt everything. So here you are trying to navigate this mental health roller coaster, and then this drops. It's been quite a week, and we still have, 50 weeks of 2021 to go?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, here's to hoping the rest of the year is a little bit smoother, that we don't have any more
Hopefully.
hold my beer moments.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the mental health conversation. It's something that I've been talking to fellow athletes, past and present, about. It's something that is getting a larger microscope in the professional realm too. Kevin Love comes to mind there. But I'm curious, since you are a basketball athlete, what got you into the sport? What was the first moment that convinced you to take it up?
I think right when my sister started playing, my sister and my brother, they really started motivating me to start playing when I was little in first grade, and then started playing in-house, played on, I think, the same team as my sister for one season. And then I played up I played up in fifth and sixth grade, so I would play with the older teams. And I think the biggest thing would probably be my sister.
And over time, what did you enjoy most about taking up the sport of basketball?
It was my piece. Like, I would go there and, like, all of my mental health things, all of everything going on in my life, it would just be free. Like, I would be okay. All my problems are gone and I can just focus on basketball.
So if you don't mind, what were some of the things you were dealing with that basketball helped alleviate?
So I got bullied through elementary, middle school, and high school after coming out. And sophomore year, I went to treatment twice, because I had a lot of family things going on and a lot of mental health things going on, and I started to lose the love for basketball, which it was so hard because I was like, that's not being my piece right now. But so I went to treatment and then came out, played a game that same day, and yeah.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. You dropped a lot of nuggets, and I'm appreciative for that. That's
Yeah.
why I do this. No, that's why I do this podcast series. I want to create a platform for athletes to share themselves, no matter what direction the stories go in. But you spoke of being bullied since elementary school and talking about coming out. And I've covered the WNBA for 10 years. I've covered college and high school basketball. So I'm aware, covered a lot of other women's sports teams as well. So I know that a lot of people who identify the way you do take up the sport of basketball or other women's sports.
Yeah.
I think someone once joked with me from a women's football team, with all of the athletes who identify as same sex that you don't go to women's sports looking for someone to hook up with. And obviously
Yeah,
that's not why I've covered women's sports as long as I have. The way I
yeah,
see it, you guys are athletes, and it's not my job to care about who you sleep with. But
yeah,
it sounds like you reached that epiphany or that conclusion about yourself at an early age, if you're talking about being bullied, and or maybe you didn't, but you just had that understanding, if you know what I mean.
yeah. I
So
think when I
go
was
ahead, go
younger,
ahead.
I feel like I knew, like I was bullied for wearing boyish clothes. I was bullied for trying hard in gym, you know. I was bullied for a lot of things, hanging out with the boys. I was being called like a boy at school in elementary school. And then when middle school continued the same thing, and then high school, I think I came out before my junior year, and then after that, it was just not good.
What led you to disclose your identity?
I was overwhelmed with how much self-hate I had for myself because I had a lot of internalized homophobia like growing up, like I'm not this way, I'm not this way. But then I started to realize like it's okay to be that way, and I just one day it was out of the blue. I This was really bad, but I didn't tell my sister, I didn't tell my mom. I just posted on Instagram and a picture and with my now girlfriend, and that's really what happened.
I wouldn't say that was a bad mechanism to announce it because,
Yeah.
as you said, when you're overwhelmed with self hate, anxiety, you know you're
Mhm.
different. And the idea, the LGBT community, it wasn't something that got discussed a lot when I was a kid. I grew up in the 90s and that was still relatively taboo. I recall vaguely the scandal, if you want to call it that, when Ellen DeGeneres made her announcement. But back then they saw it as scandalous or
For sure.
not desirable. Obviously, we're in a different time, a different period now, more understanding about this.
Yeah.
But how did your family handle it? You mentioned making the announcement on Instagram. I imagine at some point your family, your friends, word got to them. How did they handle that announcement?
Well, my sister was very upset with me because she was like, "I why didn't I tell her first? You know, like probably should have." She just kind of saw that out of nowhere.
That sounds like a very good and caring sister. Like, why did you tell me
Yeah.
first? So it's
Yeah.
so I was
But
laughing. That's why I was laughing, not at you, but
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah, I know.
of all the things for your sister to be mad at, it's that she didn't get
Yeah, she didn't
for
know first.
everyone else.
Yeah.
But go ahead, I interrupted.
No, you're good. I think my family, they are my number one supporters. They were there for me. They said my mom was actually sad that I didn't tell her sooner because she wanted they both my parents wanted me to be open with them and honest, and it was just hard at the time because I didn't want them to like look at me differently. But when I told them, they said, "You know what? I love you for who you are, and like it doesn't matter what you like, what you do, like we're going to love you." And my family was one of my biggest supporters, I think.
Well, I'm glad you have that support. And I don't know if the bullying changed or not, but when your schoolmates and your teammates, when they found out about you, what did you sense was the reaction from them?
I feel like I a lot of them came to me and said like, "We're proud of you. We're glad that you did it." But at first I felt like it might have been a little bit uncomfortable because I mean nobody else was on the team is like out like that or like any, you know, gay or bi or like, and I think at first it might have been a little bit uncomfortable, but now it's like nothing.
I remember the headlines years ago. And again, I was aware. It's something I've become more aware of and cognizant of the more I cover basketball. But I remember years ago when George Washington, when this might be before your time, but Kiara Allams, that's who she was known as way back when, but then reached a point where She identified as transgender and said, I want to be known as Kai Alum. So I remember folks, uh, one of his former high school teammates taught, I'm getting tongue tied now, being asked about that in a post game press conference because George Washington University was visiting the Gophers. And I remember this athlete saying, that's not a big deal. If that's who he is, then I'm going to support him no matter what. And I'm glad to hear that you got that. I'm curious, how difficult was it for you to endure all this bullying because you knew you were different and others sense that? I know, especially in elementary school, I went through that too, being on the autism spectrum. At that age, people make a big deal out of minute differences that would seem silly or ridiculous as adults, young adults. I'll call you young adult, future leader in our
Yeah.
society. But when you're growing up trying to figure out who you are and you have to deal with people who won't accept that right away, that's got to be tough.
Mhm. And I think in the beginning, like it hit me like a truck. Like I was having these like waves of sadness where I was like, why am I like this? Why do people choose to not like me? Like what did I do to them? And it was it was really hard in the beginning, but then I started to realize like people are going to have their own opinions no matter what.
And you spoke of the mental health journey. You can be as open as you like, but how hard was it? What were some of the peaks and valleys? And what has helped you manage situations where you might run into an anxiety attack, an episode of depression? As I've learned, it
Mhm.
can sometimes happen without warning. How have you coped with all of that?
Um I'm still working on it because I internalize my feelings a lot. I don't let people know how I'm feeling. I think the biggest thing is like people need to talk to someone. And I know it's bad to internalize things, but I do it anyways. But it's so much better letting things out and letting things go. And like it just feels like a weight is just taken off your shoulders.
Well, Kayla, what you're describing is a common tactic, as I understand it, when I spoke to a therapist this week. It can happen whether you're part of a community or not, masking, where, as you said, you internalize your feelings, so you conceal what you're truly feeling in order to present yourself as more socially desirable.
Hmm.
Because, especially when you're young, you want to fit in, you don't want to be seen as the weird kid, you
Hmm.
don't want to make yourself a target. And as a result, we create this shield. But in doing so, we then shield ourselves from reaching out when we should. So, what you describe is something that a lot of adults do, and I imagine a lot of athletes, past and present, have done, whether it's a bad game or if they're going through a dispute away from the sport that might be eating away at their morale. So, how hard was it to internalize it for so long? It sounds like it really got to you, having to mask and feel like you have to protect yourself so that others don't get worried, don't get anxious. I imagine that played into your
Yeah.
masking or internalizing your feelings. How difficult is it to handle all of that? It sounds like it just built up over time and you had no way of letting it out.
Yeah. So I went to treatment beginning or mid-November, I mean October like 20th of my sophomore year. And it was just building up and building up and building up. And I just got to a breaking point and I was having very bad suicidal ideation. And I regret it now, but I was self-harming at the time and nobody really knew about that. But people think that like self-harming is like you're doing it to yourself, like whose problem is that, like, but people don't realize like in the moment it might feel okay, but after it's like you're so sad because you just did that to yourself.
It's a self reinforcing vicious cycle, to use an economic term. And
Sure.
in relation to that, I know I had a discussion about it with a friend of mine I'll be having her on my podcast series this weekend as we explore some mental health in this podcast series. I don't have any specific topic outside of people in sports, but that opens us up for all of these subcategories like mental health. And when you talk about suicidal ideation, self harm, something that I've come to realize, I lost a friend to suicide many years ago, and it was shocking, surreal, but I never harbored any anger. And I can't remember who said it, but he said something poignant that I carry with me to this day with what you described, where others who might not be feeling that way would see it as selfish because you're putting yourself in front of everyone else. But with what you've told me so far, in a twisted way, and I say twisted because when all of these feelings bubble up and you internalize it for so long, it can convince you of these alternate realities. And that's not to say you're crazy, it's just you're convinced that something is wrong when things are going right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the statement, the point is that people who either attempt or commit suicide, they are thinking of others, but they're thinking everyone else would be better off without them.
Yeah.
And I have to applaud you for being open with yourself
Yeah.
right from the get-go. You did
Mhm.
not hold back at all.
Yeah.
I certainly was not expecting the conversation to go in this direction this
Yeah.
early in the podcast, but what helped you? It sounds like you sought therapy. Were you able to find anyone you could go to in your circle, somebody you could share your feelings with? What were some of the coping mechanisms when you reached that point where you decided you were going to work on healing yourself?
I think after I got out of treatment the second time, I think it was December. I was over in treatment over Christmas, so I got out like December 30th, I think, for the second time. And I think getting back to basketball really helped me. My coaches Scott Antle, Dave Lindquist, Ray Robinson, like they all were there for me in like a different way that I never really experienced before. Like they cared more than like they felt like family to me. That's what I'm trying to say.
And when you mention treatment, what are we talking about exactly?
I went to Prairie Care inpatient, so I was there 24/7 for the first time a week or two, and then the second time I think it was 2 weeks maybe. And then after that, I had to do partial hospitalization, so PHP. So I would go there for half days and then go back to school. And then I had to do that for like a month, which was terrible.
So, just so I'm clear, was this psychiatric treatment?
Yes.
And you mentioned it being terrible. I can't imagine it's fun to have to do that.
Yeah.
But as terrible as it was, how vital was that in your journey of self healing?
I think it was a blessing in disguise because in during those times they were switching my antidepressants, so I was like all over the place. Like I started having tics from one of my medicines. I started having suicidal thoughts from one of my medicines. So during these times I'm in treatment while they're changing my medicine, so I'm like all over the place and yeah.
And what did you learn about yourself? You talk about it being a blessing in disguise, and you speak of how they were able to help you find the proper medication so that you wouldn't deal with any crazy side effects. But what did you learn about yourself through that experience as you sought help and committed yourself to enduring what you call a terrible process? And I don't think you mean terrible as in having to do it, but just
Yeah.
it. I think for anyone, that's not something you do for fun,
Mhm.
but it sounds like you came away stronger. What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that it's okay to like not be okay. Like we don't always have to be happy. We can have our bad days and that's okay. You just have to recover from those bad days. And I think also letting people know how I feel because people care more than you know. And like they would rather talk to you for 10 hours than attend to your funeral.
That's another meme or line I've read, is that people would rather hear you complain about your problems than attend your funeral. And we have a
Yeah.
comment that dropped from a guy you might know by the name of Jason, who
That's my
says, "So proud of this kid!" Exclamation
uh-uh.
point, exclamation point, heart emoji.
Uh-uh. That's my dad.
Jason, that's your dad.
Yeah.
Well, your family, true to your word, you said they were there for you when you told them, hey, this is who I am. And it sounds like they're proud of you for taking on this journey and not getting off that ramp, proverbially speaking.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll cover more about your mental health as we move along, but I am curious, since again, this is a sports podcast and you still play basketball and you will continue to play basketball at Concordia. In the sport of basketball, and you can take this in any direction you like, who were the players, coaches, figures? Who were the people you idolized growing up? Who did you want to be?
Okay, this is gonna be really cheesy, but Kobe. Kobe, I'm telling you, I wear 24. That's my day one. I have to give it to Kobe.
Why is that cheesy?
I don't know. I just feel like everyone wanted to be a fan of him after he passed away.
What I find surreal about that answer is actually I first met you and your team at the Becker game, even though you didn't play as well as you'd like, I would imagine. But
Yeah.
that was the first game I covered after his death.
Mhm.
And it may sound cheesy to you, but I can assure you it's not. A lot of my friends that I've had on this podcast series that I've met in high school, college, you name it, huge Kobe Bryant fans. Adalia McKenzie comes to mind. That was her favorite player, still is. One of the coaches at Cretan Durham Hall, huge Kobe Bryant fan. I actually got to see him in person. I didn't say anything to him because I didn't have a reason to. I was there covering
You
the
just
links.
missed your opportunity.
Well, let me explain. I was there. I was in Los Angeles covering the 2016 WNBA Finals with the Lynx and the Sparks.
Mhm.
And Kobe just showed up as a supporter. He just wanted to take his daughter, Gianna, to the game. And so for me, because I've been in media for so long, I try not to bother people, if you know what I mean. It's like if I have a reason to
Yeah.
talk to you, I will, but I don't want to come off as another fanboy because it's Kobe Bryant. How many people want to say they shook his hand or said hello? I want to have
Yeah.
a legitimate reason. So you're right. I missed an
That's true.
opportunity,
That's true.
but I want to respect the boundaries
Yeah.
because
For
these are athletes. They're not robots. And when you work in media as long as I have, when you've covered a four-time champion in the Minnesota Lynx, you understand that. I'm pen pals with a few former athletes, and we don't really talk about the wins and losses.
sure.
Another comment that dropped from another figure who shares your surname, Andrea. She
That's
says, that's who is that?
my mom.
Your mother. Well,
Really doing the
your
most.
parents are doing a terrific job embarrassing you, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, Andrea writes, we love you more than you know. Proud of you.
Those were my day ones.
Those are your day ones. So Kobe Bryant is an acceptable answer. There are no cheesy answers on this
Okay.
podcast, Caela. Kobe is a perfectly fine answer because I grew up when I was your age. Well, Kobe, that's when his reign began. But when I was little, when I was young, it was all about Michael Jordan and Space Jam and the 98 finals. He's my favorite player. But Kobe, I hold him in high regard because when he died, it hit me, and not just him, but his daughter and the others in that helicopter, because Kobe had spent the last several years of his playing career and post playing career becoming who I thought one of the greatest ambassadors in the sport, not just men's basketball, but women's basketball. And you could tell he cared. I remember him name dropping Rachel Banham in a Lakers press conference, and that made
Yep.
her day. You probably know about the friendship he forged with the Ionescu family, particular Sabrina Ionescu, a
Yep.
friendship that still holds. So Kobe really cared about the game And I knew he would have put everything he had into promoting it. You probably know about the girl dad story that Ellie Duncan shared. That was Kobe, and how that led to its own hashtag. So don't sell yourself short, Caela. Kobe is anything but cheesy when you consider
Okay.
what he has done for the sport of basketball. He's going to be one of our legends. And I know it hit me when he died. And I'm not a Lakers fan exactly. Like, I don't hate them, but it's like they're just there.
Mhm.
They're like the Yankees. You hear about them all the time because of the market and the big names that follow. But yeah, if you tell yourself that any more of your guesses or options are going to be cheesy, I'm going to have
Okay.
to.
Okay, I'm
I'm going
sorry.
to
I
have to
was
cut you off. So now that I'm done with that tangent, Kobe Bryant was your favorite player growing up. When did you sense that playing the sport of basketball? Oh, before I get to that, Craig Trudeau says, hi.
Oh, wow. That's my uncle.
So I think your entire family is tuning into this live stream
Better
on
be. I don't know
Facebook.
what's going on.
Well, I appreciate it, Thai family. Thanks for tuning in, and feel free to pass this along to your friends. But when did you sense that your path, your journey in basketball would take you places?
I think when I started believing in myself, because I had people telling me when I was younger, like growing up, like you're really good, you might go places, you can take this with you. And I didn't really believe it. I didn't believe in myself, I didn't think that they were really, I feel like they were just amping me. And then I got to a point, I think in middle school I started to realize like I can actually go somewhere with this if I put the work in.
What would you make of the culture? Because you attend Big Lake, and I've gotten a taste of that going to Becker. It's become a running thing now where I take the Becker trip. And if I had more time and maybe more of me, if I could clone myself, I would love to go to some of these places outside the metro.
Yeah.
Now Craig is telling Shelby McGee, get on here. He's dropping this on
God, they need to
Facebook.
stop.
You're the one who reached out to me, Caela. You brought this
I
on yourself.
know.
You
I did too
brought
much
this
of it.
wave of positivity and encouragement and positive reinforcement. You did this to yourself, and you should be
Yeah, I
proud of
know.
that. You should be proud of that. You never know what's going to happen when we go on the air live. But, Becker, Big Lake, you played in the Mississippi H, Chisago Lakes. I went up there once. They're not super small towns, but it's not like going to a game at Hopkins or Wayzata, Stillwater, or Park Center. You go to these big metro schools and you have your options where you go in your conference in particular. Princeton, I think, is in that group as well. I've gotten to know them a little bit. Your high school is the talk of the town when it comes to the local newspapers, the community. What would you make of the culture surrounding Big Lake basketball?
I think we have a really positive culture. I think we have a young team. We have a lot of people coming up, and I think that we have a lot of experience on our team. We just got two new players back, Olivia and Ava. They just came back, so we have um 3, 4, 5, 16 years, I think. So yeah, we just expanded our team, and we have a really positive team. We love each other. There's no beef off the court. There's no beef on the court. Like we push each other. And yeah, we're gonna get frustrated in practices with each other because like we're pushing each other, we're competing, and yeah.
One interesting nugget about Big Lake are the number of coaches they've had over the years. They've cycled through it. Scott was there for 2 years, and that's the longest anyone has been in that position in some time. I know you have a new coach this year. That can make things difficult as far as establishing continuity and chemistry. But what have you learned? How has that helped you grow, getting to work, I should say, with folks like Scott, your new coach, working with different people who have different systems in place, different philosophies? It sounds like you have positive memories of all of them, but what is that like? You're trying to learn the game and you're having to adapt along the way.
I feel like it was teaching me along the way too to adjust because you're always gonna have to adjust to new coaching styles. So I think it was really good for me to adjust to their coaching styles.
And I guess you're going to have to do that again next year when you go to
Yeah.
Concordia. On that subject, how many offers did you get? And do you recall when you got your first college offer?
My first was Concordia, and I was losing offers because I was not responding to coaches. I was in a little bit of a hole. That's when I was going through all my stuff, and I cut contact with so many coaches, and my first official offer was Concordia.
That's not something I hear often. And it's certainly understandable like why you lost contacts if you were fighting against yourself, because the last thing you want to do is get others caught up into it. But what led you to settle on Concordia as you were getting better both as a basketball athlete and getting better in terms of connecting with yourself?
I think the vibe that Concordia has, their coaching staff, like they want to get better. There's no playing games. Like we're gonna get better, but we can have a good time. But you need to get better, and I think I'm really excited to be playing under these coaches. And yeah,
Something I'm curious about, did you field any Division One offers along the way, or was it mostly Division Two?
I was going to go to Florida Atlantic, but then it was like Florida Atlantic or Concordia, and I was like, I should probably stay home. D2 is probably going to be better for my mental health because we get at least some breaks.
And at least in your case, you get to be closer to home. And you know what, Caela? I've met some athletes. I had one on my podcast series last year by the name of Olivia Antilla, who started at a D2 school and then ended at a Division One school as the leading scorer for Florida A&M in her 2 seasons there. So a Division One opportunity is not out of the question. But no matter what, something we've been seeing, I read a lot of memes because I'm on social media a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of have to be with my job as much as I don't like it.
Yep.
But coaches and players are sharing this now that whether it's D1, D2, D3, NAIA, getting that college offer, that opportunity to play on a scholarship or not in D3, getting the chance to play at the next level is a life-changing opportunity no matter where you go. And you'll get to join some pretty esteemed talent at Concordia, including the all-time leading scorer at Mounds View in Lindsey Becker. I don't know how much contact you've had with some of the folks who are at Concordia now, but knowing that you're going to get to play alongside someone like Lindsey, how exciting is that for you?
I'm beyond excited. I'm ready to get better. I'm ready to be pushed to the next level, and we're gonna have a good team. So Mia in Upper Iowa, Destiny and Mankato, better watch out because we're coming after you.
That's right. It's like destiny. I'm like, wait, that's probably how you found me, wasn't it? When you responded, or I forget. No, it was a more generic post, but I forget how small this community is. And your teammate, Mia Huberty, a fellow senior, led Big Lake in scoring. You were second. So the two of you, whatever happens, this is your last season as teammates before you become conference rivals, at least for a time. Has there been any smack talk between the two of you?
Not much, but I mean, there might be close to the end of the season. I might have to tell her what's gonna happen when we play. She probably knows what's gonna happen. We're gonna win, but I'm sorry, Mia. I'm just laying it out there.
And if your tone of voice is any indication, knowing that you'll continue playing basketball is something that uplifts you. So when you settled on Concordia and made the announcement, the culmination of a journey that took you through hell and back, pardon the language, but I think it's safe
Yeah.
to say with you, there was a time where you didn't even know if you wanted to be around anymore. And now
Yeah.
you're going to have a chance to share your story with the Concordia community and let everyone know who you are as an athlete and as a human being. So how gratifying was it to know that in spite of everything that has happened to you, you've made it this far?
I feel like it was a weight just lifted off my shoulders. I felt so relieved that I just did it and I got it over with. I made the right decision. I made the best decision for me. And I think that's the other thing that you have to take into part is making the best decision for yourself and not your parents and not the coaches, just for you.
We're getting more comments on the live stream. Craig Trudeau a few minutes ago said grandma in the house. I don't know who he's talking about specifically. And then Grace Bean says, hey, good job, my girl. So proud of you.
Grace, that's my sister's friend.
Your sister's friend.
Yes.
You have quite the following at Big Lake. Your relatives' friends are following you. Well, I'm sure they go to your games, right?
Yeah.
What excites you most about the opportunity? It sounds like you're ready to show your stuff against Destiny Bursch and Mia Huberty, and I don't know who else you'll be playing against, but what are you excited about knowing that whatever happens this winter, you'll get that opportunity to play college basketball?
I think just starting out, having a fresh start from having this, crappy senior year to having, I hope to have a good freshman year, like with everything gone, coronavirus gone, restrictions gone. Like I'm really excited to have a fresh start.
I know personally, I would like to think that around this time next year, things will be closer to normal and I won't have to weigh the pros and cons of attending games because you know
Yeah.
me, I would love to be out there. I've had a couple of athletes ask me, am I going to cover games? And I have to go, well, I'm not so sure, not because I don't want to. It's almost like my love for the game is the reason I want to hold off so that I don't put myself or you or anyone else at risk when I don't have to.
Yeah.
But we spoke of mental health. I have to imagine that got tested again with you and the entire state, everyone in this period of uncertainty that we've never had to go through before, not knowing if you're going to have a season. For now, the plan is to have 18 games starting next week through early March, maybe a state tournament. Obviously, the situation is fluid. Coaches have told me that. And I think you and everyone else are aware that the next game could be your last. But
Yeah.
when you were having to sit out and wait to hear what was going to happen, how challenging was that from a mental health perspective?
It was very challenging knowing that could have played my last game last year and I didn't even know. Like I knew that I wasn't alone in feeling that way because I knew that I wasn't the only senior getting their season cut short, possibly. So I think that's what kept me going is knowing that I'm not the only one out there that's feeling this right now.
There are a few more comments as they keep rolling in. Caela, I know this is slightly embarrassing for you, but I think it speaks to the level of support you have.
Oh no.
That comes because you chose to be true to yourself.
Hmm.
When you spoke of your sister being angry that you didn't tell her about your orientation.
Yeah.
So the comments here, Jennifer Depew Look says, way to go, honey. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah, you did.
I did. And who is Jennifer in relation to you?
She's my mom's best friend, so like I consider her an aunt to me.
So a spiritual aunt, so a
Yeah.
spiritual member of the family. Carly Ty says, love you so much.
That's my sister.
And Grace liked it. Was Carly the person you were talking about, the one that was angry?
Yeah.
I take it from that remark and the conversations, she is not so angry at you now.
Yeah, she's not angry anymore.
And Shelby McGee says, hi, Caela.
Hi, Shelby.
If any of you are watching this, whether you're a family member or a fan, keep the comments coming. Let's see how much we can embarrass Caela before we're through.
Okay.
And I say that jokingly, of course.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what, Caela? I can attest to that because I'm the same way. Last year when I was at tip-off events, or even when I went to that doubleheader and I had Becker fans recognize me. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Mike." I'm like, "You guys have no reason to know who I am. I just showed
Yeah.
up for one game."
Yeah. Word gets around in small towns.
What?
Word gets around in these small towns when someone famous like you comes around.
Grace Bean is saying, "My favorite. This is to embarrass her. Keep it up."
Oh gosh.
We got more. I should just keep this rolling, and the rest of the
Oh
podcast will just be.
no.
Let's see what else. Uh, Shelby McGee says, "Ha ha ha, Caela rocks." And Craig Trudeau says, "Westland says, yeah, okay."
That's my baby cousin. She's so cute.
So I think they're endorsing my strategy.
They are.
They are. I'm a bad influence. I am a naughty, terrible influence in the sport of basketball. It's amazing I'm still allowed to talk to you.
No, and my family will take full advantage of any of those. Yeah.
Caela, what were you thinking when you reached out to me and said, "Hey, can I come on this podcast?"
I was thinking we were gonna let these mental health and athletes just put it out there. I didn't think my whole family was gonna join.
I will never stream live to Facebook again. That is the lesson I've learned. No, I'm kidding. I should point out, I do. Carly says, "Yes, sir." Grace says, "Love you, Carl. Proud of you." And so now they're starting to share comments with each other.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that now.
They're upstaging this podcast. I think they're trying to take over. I will point out to my audience, especially for those who are watching this on tape delay on YouTube, because otherwise this won't make sense. I streamed this live to Facebook as an opportunity for those who want to see it without having to wait, but also to create a backup. So if something happens in the recording on my hard drive, I'll have a backup copy to use on Facebook so I can share it with the YouTube audience who might want to watch this later. And Grace is adding, "Love you, Kale. So proud of you." I think they're just going to keep
repeating what they said the first time.
They are just going to keep bombarding you with love and compassion and grace and support. And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to the support network, as I mentioned earlier. And who knows where you would be if they didn't exist. You spoke of, I imagine, the trepidation, maybe not directly, but when you told everyone who you were on Instagram.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was an intimidating experience. And to have them stand behind you, I can only imagine how difficult it would be if that weren't the case.
Yeah, I think I'm very blessed to have the family that I do, and I'm blessed that they support me and they put me first, like they didn't see me any differently. And when I posted, I shut my phone off right after I posted it. I set it down and I was like, oh no, like I should delete it, like right now. This is bad. But then I started getting these overwhelming comments of support and positivity, and I think that's what it's all about, like obviously there's going to be people who have their opinions, but you can't change some of those people's opinions. So I think having the positivity and support I did really kept me going.
Caela, you should know, being a social media connoisseur, once you put something out there, it can always be screen grabbed.
Yep.
You can't hide it.
Yep.
There's always a tweet or an archive.
Mm-hmm.
Another comment from your network of relatives and friends from Shelby again says, "Thank you for archiving this. I will watch this for years to come." I don't know if I should be proud or scared about that.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I don't know if you should be proud or scared either.
What have I done? I'm going to be re-examining my entire life. And one of my relatives is saying, "By the way, Mike, you're great too. Say hi to your mom." Oh my Lord. Now they're coming my way.
You had to get your family on there.
This podcast will never be the same again. Well, I know I've got a few of my buddies too that watch or like it too. So it's not just my relatives, but friends of mine will tune in or like it. Oh boy. I may have to go on hiatus after this. I will never forget this night. Where were we? Where were we? Basketball? Is that still a thing?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
If you were following us about 2 hours ago,
Yep.
Knowing that you at least have the prospect of a senior season, it could be 18 games, it could be one. Oh no. Now Junior J McGee says, I'm here. JRJ Junior, how would you say that?
That's Shelby's husband.
Oh
Whoa.
my Lord. We are going to have the entire city of Big Lake tuning into this
They
live
don't
stream.
even live in Big Lake. They live, where do they live? Loretto.
Oh, Loretto. I was going to say, do they live in Becker?
No, absolutely not.
Like, do you have any family friends out in Becker?
Nope.
No. Okay. I was going to say, if you did, oh, imagine how that rivalry would look.
I don't think I would claim them as my family then.
I think you would.
I would have to.
You know the saying, bloodlines trump allegiances when it comes to
Yeah.
that. And I can't keep up. Craig Trudeau is saying family reunion. Rhonda Defoe says we are here too.
They're literally having a family reunion in the live. Oh no.
Who is Rhonda?
That's my grandma.
Your grandma. Okay.
There's so many people.
A family reunion. We're having friends come in. I'm just waiting for Mia to show up at this point.
Yeah, where's Mia? What is going on?
Maybe she's watching this incognito.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. She's not revealing herself, and she's taking pleasure in our pain
Yeah.
that we've inflicted on ourselves.
No, I really need Mia right now. I really need her.
Mia, if
you're watching Mia, please make it known.
Join the live stream. I'll send you a link. This podcast is already going off the rails. I might as well go all the way. JRJ said, oh, and now Carly is tagging her. Okay.
Oh no.
Lesson learned. I need to stop offering suggestions. I take full responsibility for this, Caela. I had no idea this was going to turn into this family reunion party, as JRJ McGee puts it. I'm going to need a few drinks just to laugh this off. And yes, that's a joke. Please drink responsibly. Do not rely on alcohol as a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Because I've had some mental health experiences. Caela has. Stay away from that.
Yes.
I was talking with her before the podcast too. I have all the reason to avoid that because folks like yourself, Caela, and so many other athletes who have followed me on social media, who will connect with me, ask me if I'm going to cover their games. And even if I can't, I'll find a way to stay involved. But when you've done this for over a decade like I have, and then parents and athletes start following you and engaging with you like you're an extended member of their family, I wouldn't want to let them down. So I have all the more reason. Uh-oh, Andrea says, I sent Mia the link.
Yeah, she better join.
All right, Mia. And you know what? Well, you have the link. Yeah, you could hit her up on Instagram too. We should.
I told her to join, but I don't know where she is. It's kind of hurting my heart.
You know what we're gonna have to do? It's like in retaliation, we're gonna have to make Mia do a podcast, and then you can.
I'll make sure her whole family joins.
Oh, I'm sure her entire family will join because your family is probably going to send the word out.
Yep.
See, that's how we get even on this podcast series. We don't get mad. We don't hurl insults. We just put them on the spot. Yep. Wow. Oh boy. Folks tuning in are probably going, what in the world is wrong with Mike? Come to think of it, I'm still wondering what is wrong with me. I haven't found out yet. I'm still trying to figure out the answer. Okay. The question that I was going to ask you about 2 weeks ago, before this devolved into the search for Mia Huberty. Whatever happens, you will at least have the opportunity to play a season. Whether it's 18 games, whether it's 18 minutes, we have no idea. I hope you're able to play the full 18, and by March it will be safer. But who knows what's going to happen. But to at least have the opportunity to play, I know you're aware of the risks that come with it, and I'm sure everyone will do what they can to stay safe. It sounds like most of you are up for wearing masks. How are you going to approach this season knowing what's at stake, knowing all of the challenges you're going to have to face?
I think everyone should take advantage of every minute they're on the court, every minute they have with their team, every second they have with their team, and really cherish it and take it in because you don't know when our season can be canceled.
And Caela, you're going to hate me for saying this, but now one of my friends, perhaps a mutual friend of ours, has tuned in and dropped a response. D. Buford, who says, "Good luck at Concordia, Caela. DJ misses your AAU dance moves."
Oh no.
Would you say, are you the best dancer on your teams?
Okay, me and my friend Jesse Moyer, we have dance battles, and I think we're the best on the team.
And AAU, can you mention what team you played for where D's son DJ knows who you are?
I played for the Minnesota Stars. I played for Josh Hirsch.
Josh Hirsch. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Tamia Yugas played for
Yes.
them too. Okay, I'm thinking that's probably where you made the connection, because
Yes.
I know the Buford family, huge supporters of Tamia, who was playing Division One at LSU.
Yes.
So let's put in a shout out to her while we're at it. Had her on the
Yes, of
podcast over
course.
the summer. Another tremendous athlete and another inspirational figure when it comes to overcoming adversity in her case.
For sure.
And Carly concurs with either my assessment or your assessment, Caela. She says, yes, best dance moves. So Carly thinks you're one of the better dancers, if not the best one.
Yep.
Now, as much as we were name dropping Mia Huberty, I have no idea if she has come on this podcast yet or if she's tried to log in through Zoom. I can send her the invite if she sends me a message if you're watching this, but what would you make of that relationship? You know, the two of you have grown up together, played alongside each other. You've gotten to experience small town basketball, being the big names on campus, and both accomplished athletes. As you mentioned earlier, she's going to Upper Iowa. You're going to Concordia. How vital, how influential has that friendship been for you?
I think like she's been my best friend since the day that I met her. We've clicked on and off the court. Like we can go like months without talking to each other, and then we see each other and we click automatically. Um, she's pushed me in ways that nobody has pushed me before, and I think that's what like made me a player, like the player I am today. Because if Mia didn't exist, if there was no Mia, I don't know if I would be the player that I am today without her.
And there are a couple more comments that I'm going to get to in a moment, but in the sake of fluidity, how do you think your friendship with Mia, how has that strengthened the two of you? Because I imagine if we get Mia on, she would have something nice to say about you, if not more.
Yeah, she's known about my mental health. She's known about things that have happened with my family, and she's one of the few people that really know. So she has been my rock. She's been there since day one. Always giving me encouragement. Always giving me encouragement on the court, off the court, like mental health advice. Like she's there for me. Everything.
So was she one of the first people you confided to as you were navigating your identity and your struggles?
I was so scared to tell her. She's been my best friend, and I think I was the most scared to tell her because I was scared that she was gonna look at me differently. But once it happened, she didn't look at me differently. She didn't treat me differently. Like nothing. It was just like that.
Once again, proof of how strong a true friendship really is. And I can understand your trepidation. It's one thing to stand up to bullies and antagonists, it's another to stand up to your friends and admit something when you're in perhaps the most vulnerable position you can be.
For sure.
And she didn't budge an inch. It's
Mm.
like we were friends before,
Yep.
and that's not changing now.
Yep.
And I appreciate that, and I imagine you do as well.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, some of the comments that I wanted to get to, if you're just joining us late, we were talking about Caela and her dancing skills. Craig Trudeau is saying, we need proof, bust a move.
Oh no, 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 no! Don't
But
put me on the spot like that.
I'm like, is that even possible with where you're stationed?
No,
Like, is there
I
enough
don't think it is
space?
actually.
Do we have like a beat or a
I,
background
I can't.
music?
I can't. I'm on the spot. I can't do it. I can't do it. Craig.
Oh, you're on the spot. And you're not on the spot when I'm guessing you do it at practices or games and you're not on the spot then?
It just comes naturally.
All right. Well, if you happen to broadcast or get video of a big late game and you see Caela busting a move, send me the link and we're going to have a mashup. We're going to do a
Oh
super cut of
no.
Caela dancing at the end of the season. Forget the layups and the 3-pointers.
Yeah.
I can see it now. It's going to be all viral, and J.R.J. McGee is endorsing it. He's laughing his butt off at this idea. I think we are onto something. All right. So
Can't be put on the spot like this.
going back to something we mentioned earlier. Wait, okay. Follow up here. Craig Trudeau says, very possible she has plenty of room. She's in the living room.
Okay. No.
And, and Carly is telling us, I'll take a video. Don't worry.
No.
Caela, I think you're going to have, well, I was going to say your mental health is going to take another direction, but it won't be, it won't be depression. It's going to be embarrassment.
I know.
You're going to need to seek. And the reason I'm joking with you is because of where you are now. So I think we're in a position where we can laugh about it because you're through the worst of it. But you might need to hit up therapy again to get over the embarrassment of turning red.
I'm gonna curl up in a ball right now.
I'm trying not to kill myself laughing. I'm worried I'm going to lose it. I'm instantly regretting this. Not that you reached out to me, the fact that I was willing to set this up and do the live stream. This is by far a record. I'm up to 33 comments on the Facebook live stream. And I could only imagine what will happen when I post the tape delayed version to YouTube, and then all of your family will follow me to.
Oh no. I can just see it happening. I can see it.
Where were we? Oh, the Becker rivalry.
Yeah.
This is by far the worst podcast in terms of continuity, but that's okay. There's no script. The Becker rivalry, I got a chance to witness it, and Becker has been the stronger team in the last few years as they have built up their program. And I'd say it's great because I think they helped put a map on outstate basketball, not just for them, but doing that doubleheader with Big Lake, even though you didn't get the win you were looking for. I think it helps put a spotlight on some of the talented players that are outside the metro. You know, Becker has, I know, at least one Division I recruit in Julia Bankson, and I was bummed that they didn't get a chance for that rematch with De La Salle, being the basketball fan that I am, and knowing how Becker had that state championship run in 07, had a few lean years, and then rebuilt their program to become a powerhouse again. So as you were saying, word gets out. And even if you're on the losing end of those rivalry games, what they're doing, I think, helps put a spotlight on it. But for you, it's one of those doubleheaders that you get. How exciting is that on the calendar when you go into those games? And as I got to see last year, the girls' game drew a sellout crowd.
Yeah, I love doubleheaders, and I love because the crowd, you know, it's intense. And it really props to Becker because they have been doing amazing things, and I'm excited to play Becker this year. I'm going to be going against Megan Gamble, one of my future teammates on Concordia St. Paul, so that's going to be fun.
Megan Gamble, Maren Westeen, Elena Lindquist, and you guys weren't too bad yourselves last year. 19-5, I think, 18-8.
Yep.
A year ago, which I think was one of your best records in a long time. So you guys weren't too shabby either. That was one reason why I did the doubleheader. And honestly, you have no idea how a game's going to turn out. So yes, it was a blowout the one time I showed up, but I wouldn't have met you. We wouldn't have done this podcast.
Yeah, okay.
Throughout your basketball career, and feel free to list this podcast with all of the weird and wild directions we have taken in this. Throughout your career, what would you say was the most embarrassing moment and the most exciting moment?
Oh jeez. Okay. Most embarrassing moment. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she's from Rogers. Ellie Buzzell. She's from Rogers.
Let's look this up. I have another monitor next to me.
Okay.
We are going to find this out.
But
Maybe now, what moment were you talking about again here?
this is the embarrassing moment. I think it
Embarrassing
was
moment. Okay. Well,
sophomore
maybe
year.
give us the lead up to it, and then we'll try to figure out
We were on
who
defense.
that player
And,
is.
um, she was passing the ball with one hand to her teammate, and I was in help defense, and the ball kind of slipped, and it smacked me in the face very hard, and the ball went to the other side of the court, went out of bounds, so it was their ball again, and I fell directly to the floor because I broke my nose, and I still have not gotten that fixed. And that was probably one of the worst and most embarrassing moments of my life.
And who did you say this player was? Because I got the roster up here.
Ellie.
Allie Carrolls.
She
I
went to
see.
Team USA tryouts.
Allie. I'm seeing
She's really
Allison Bourne, Allie Carrolls, Alex Fuller, Elena Brenning.
oh no.
None of those names ring a bell.
She's a year younger than me, I think.
Okay, so maybe a sophomore. Ellie Buzzell.
Yes.
Ellie Buzzell.
Yes.
She went to Team USA tryouts?
Yep.
I had no idea.
Yep. She went, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay. I know Paige Beckers is on the USA junior national team. I didn't know we had another one, and Ellie Buzzell. Oh boy.
Yeah,
Well,
she went to tryouts.
just watch. This podcast is going to get to her, and then she's going to come out and reach out to me
Yep.
and said, "Hey,
Yep.
how come you don't know about me?" So what happened? So she hit you in the face, or not intentionally, I imagine, but she hit you in the face, broke
She
your
has a
nose,
strong
and you.
arm.
So she sounds like she's got quite the arm or velocity behind it.
Yeah.
She could have
Very
doubled
much.
for softball.
Yes, she should.
So she hit you in the face with the ball. You hit the floor and broke your nose. That I can only imagine how gross that looked.
I didn't bleed that much. It was bruised very badly. I had a really black eyes after.
I was about to follow up with it, and I will. But another candidate, according to Jason, says running off the court to throw up in Cincinnati.
Okay, don't do. Okay. Okay, that was one time, and I was tired, and there was a free throw happening, and I had to run off the court to puke in the trash because I didn't want to do it on the court.
Wow, you are right. Your family will do everything they can to make you turn red.
Yep.
What would you say is the most exciting moment that you've had?
I think we were playing Sauk Rapids last year, I believe, and it was at St. Cloud Tech, and we were down like the whole game. And I think one of the most exciting moments was coming back at halftime. We were down by I think 20 plus, and we came back, and I think we lost the game by only, or no, we won the game, and just coming back from that much of a deficit, like it just shows like you can do it. Like our team is possible of coming back.
Now, you spoke of getting hit in the face leading to the black eye and breaking your nose. Something I read about you, I am a subscriber to the Breakdown Encyclopedia that comes out every year. And some fun facts about you. You mentioned your sophomore season, you ended up with a total of 5 black eyes.
Yep. It was not fun.
So how do you get that many? I'm hoping you didn't throw punches.
No, I get elbowed in the face like every time I get a black eye.
Well, and you're 6'1", if I'm right. So I take it you're down in the post more often than maybe some of your teammates. And with Ellie Bazell, for example,
Yes.
talking and her strong arms, I could see how that would happen. Okay, so at least
Yeah.
it's happening on the court, not because someone is punching you.
Yep.
I also discovered that you have a pet bearded dragon by the name of Steve.
Yep. He's upstairs
How long have you had him?
since sixth grade.
Since sixth grade. And how did you settle on the name Steve?
Okay. My best friend and I, Brennan, we were just kind of young at the time, and Minecraft was out. I'm exposing myself right now, but we were obsessed with Minecraft, so we were like, let's name this thing Steve.
You know what? There are some prominent YouTubers out there who have made a career out of Minecraft videos.
Yep.
So I, I don't think you're exposing yourself at all. I play a little bit of it. Actually, I know a fellow athlete who also plays Minecraft when she has some spare time. So
Yep.
you're not alone out there. I won't name the other athlete because I want to give her that opportunity. But trust me,
Yeah.
I know like when it comes to pop culture references, they're out there. In fact, I'm going to put myself on the spot. I think I said today, to this day, I may be the only sports guy willing to drop Pokemon references in
Yep.
my social media. You saw that.
Here's
Who do we have? Oh, it's Steve.
This is Steve. This is my one and only. He's a little
Now,
fat.
he's fat, you said?
Yeah, just a
Now,
little.
I'm wondering, can Steve like mine for diamonds or iron, or can he?
I wish.
So he would not want to have him go up against zombies and
No.
skeletons, or going into the Nether. Like
No, I
you
mean he
wouldn't take
bit
him
my
with you.
mom one time, so maybe he could do it.
You what was that?
He bit my mom one time.
You got your mother one time to do it?
No, he bit her.
Oh, you.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, we probably don't want to have him in the party.
Well, he could be. He's got some strong teeth.
Okay, well, you know what? That's true because he could be like the wolf that you can recruit and be your guard dog
Yep.
to defend from enemy attacks or mobs. That's what they call them.
Mhm.
And JR is saying, and she still loves Minecraft.
Okay, don't do. Minecraft is fun.
Hey, I'm not afraid to admit that I played every iteration of the main series Pokemon RPG since Generation 1. We're talking long before you were born, the Game Boy era.
Yeah.
Only 150, and there were no genders, abilities, or hidden
Yep.
abilities, or all the other stuff that's in there now.
Mhm.
And I've also been described as one of the top Mario Kart players around. So, you know
Yes.
what? Embrace your inner child.
Yes.
I was going to say, though, I guess we've gotten a taste of it already with your Minecraft appreciation. But when you're not playing basketball, what are some other hobbies or interests that people wouldn't necessarily know about you?
I really like drawing. I think it really I release a lot of tension when I draw, and I've tried to take on writing, to help my mental health, but I didn't really lean that way, so I've really taken up drawing.
What kind of drawings are we talking about?
Anything, rose drawings, yeah, anything.
And how do you engage in it? Is it just freehand? Do you do any stenciling? I ask because I don't have much experience in that field, but if it helps you release tension and give you an outlet, I'm all for it. But I say this all the time. I find it fascinating, but I do because I enjoy hearing all these behind the scenes stories about athletes.
Yeah, I freehand it. Like I can look at a picture and then freehand it, so I just do it that way.
So we might have a future Bob Ross on our hands.
Yep.
You can take a picture and turn it into something.
Yep.
I may have to hit you up for storyboards if I ever
Yes.
get into that realm. Something else I wanted to discuss, and it's amazing I never got around to this because of all the directions we've gone in, but you mentioned standing 6'1", usually working the post. What was it like growing up and being one of the taller figures, in school? In basketball, I imagine you're used to it because you play alongside and against fellow lengthy athletes. But For you, what was life like as you shot your way up to 6'1"?
This is crazy. I was actually the shortest on the team up until 7th grade. Mia was the post and I was the point guard.
Okay, and then what happened?
I grew. That's after 7th grade summer. I shut up. I was started growing, and it was the most painful thing of my life. Growing pains are not fun.
So did Mia become the point guard and you became the post after that?
Yep.
What led to the switch if Mia was point guard for all those years, or you were point guard?
Yeah. I think my height. Yeah.
And you, because I say that because it's like you watch the pros, and I'm sure you've seen your share of WNBA games or even the college games. Tall players, they can play point now. They're not just relegated to the post anymore.
Yep. And I think my position, I like to play a 2 or 3, but with my big league team, I'm gonna have to play the post because we don't have that much height on our team, so I'm probably gonna stick with the post this year.
And you spoke of the growing pains. I'm guessing some of that is physical. And I recall that when I was in my growth spurt, but were there any mental ones as well? Because I know at the time you were still struggling with your identity. So not only are you trying to figure out who you are, you're shooting up. And so after Mia being the tallest figure on your team for years and you being the shortest, now all of a sudden you're the one that stands above the
Yeah.
rest.
I think it was hard at first because I was growing so fast, so quick, and at the time I was getting at like I was trying to fit up to other people's standards, so I tried to dress for feminine in my 8th grade year. So I was trying to do other people's standards, and which is hard because I just wanted to please everyone, and it's not something you should do.
Not at all. Because the only standards that truly measure up are yours. If you try to please others or try to meet up to their standards, yeah, you're just asking for trouble because you just can't. You're not them, they're not you.
Yeah.
Something that I've talked about with my taller guests on this podcast series, since I feature a lot of women's athletes, the biggest challenges are finding clothes that would fit and shoes that would fit. Is that something you had to deal with after you hit your growth spurt?
The biggest thing for me was jeans because they didn't sell any extra long jeans in American Eagle in the store. So I had to get them online. And if they didn't fit right, I would have to send them back and then get a new pair. It was just sad.
So jeans were a struggle, everything else not a
Yep.
problem?
Everything else was not a problem.
Well, that's a story that maybe 10, 20 years ago would have a much different tone to it. Some of the older guests that I've had spoke of their difficulties finding apparel that would fit them. So I'm glad to see we're
Yeah.
making progress.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this podcast, though, Caela,
Yep.
and a lot of it covering mental health before your friends and family hijacked the live stream and turned it into a family reunion comedy fest, which I
Yep.
appreciate. I'm thankful for everyone who tuned in to this podcast. But with everything you've experienced, getting to the point where you were ready to end it, who knows if it will happen again? I don't want to say you'll never experience it again because the mental health journey is unpredictable. You could be fine one day and then tomorrow it could be a completely different outlook. But with everything you have endured to get to this point, if there's anyone out there, whether it's a fellow player or a fellow viewer of this podcast, past or present athlete, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that if they're not talking to anyone, if nobody knows about their mental health things and things going on with them, I think they should talk to somebody because they're not alone. Like there's other people feeling the same way. And I think that's the biggest thing with athletes because a lot of athletes hide what they're feeling, go to games, go to practices, hide it. And a lot of people on the team might not know what they're going through, but they need to talk to someone and someone is always there for them. And really, if you need to put a mask on every day, then that's not how you want to live as a person. You don't want to live every single day of your life putting a mask on, acting like you're okay. I think the biggest thing is talking to someone.
And just to be clear, she's referencing a metaphorical mask. Obviously, with the pandemic, we are still
Yeah.
trying to promote mask wearing to protect ourselves from inhaling the virus. But when it
Yeah.
comes to emotions, that mask, and again, that's something a lot of us grapple with. Again, my psychologist was saying adults that don't have any conditions or any forms of identity at all can do that too. So I think that's a
Yeah.
lesson all of us can appreciate. What do you enjoy most about what you have done to heal yourself, to turn a negative into a positive, to take a situation that could have done you in and turn that into a strength?
Um, I think knowing that I didn't give up on myself, knowing that I didn't give up on my family, staying true to myself, being myself, and not living up to other people's standards, having my own goals for myself, and just living for me overall.
And I'll wrap up this part with this question. What role have your teammates, have your family? How can a support network like them, how can that help you and help others? We've talked about how hard it can be when you feel alone out there, but knowing that Mia had your back, knowing that your sister was angry with you for not disclosing your identity to her
Yeah.
first, I'm going to remember that for a long time because I just find that amusing,
Yeah.
an amusing outcome for legitimate fear. Let's not diminish
Yeah.
the tension and the nervousness that comes with opening up about yourself like that. But
Yeah.
knowing that no matter what, whether you're struggling at a practice or at a game or you're at home, you can hit up Mia, you can hit up your family. They might embarrass you along the way, but they're going to have your back. They're going to be there at your games. They're going to follow you to Concordia, I imagine, and
Yes.
find a way to get along with Megan Gamble at Becker, even though you are heated rivals right now.
Yep.
How important is that for emotional healing and development?
I think it's one of the biggest things. People don't look at the side of like how they react towards certain things might affect someone else and them mentally. So I think knowing about someone's mental health, knowing what they go through, can help a person understand on a deeper level what they say and do might really hurt them. So my teammates, my family, they've really done well with like being there for me, not saying things that would like hurt me, and just loving me for me and me not living up to other people's standards.
If you had asked me how this would have played out, I never would have expected that this would turn into a podcast where the rule book goes out the window. But I want to thank everyone from your network
Yep.
of friends and family who logged on and decided to offer their supports and find ways to make you blush. I mean, that's true love,
Yeah.
though. That willing, I like people who are
Yeah.
willing to have fun. I always try to have a little bit of fun with my broadcasts. Some might think I take it too far, but the way I see it, you guys can see what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't need to describe every single detail. Carson has saying Bucks in 6. We already have an NBA Finals prediction.
Okay. He's trying to amp his team.
He's trying to what?
He's trying to amp his team. Amp his team that he
Eh,
loves.
are you not a
He
Bucks
loves
fan?
Milwaukee Bucks. No.
Is your team the Lakers?
Yep.
Okay, I was gonna say with Kobe Bryant,
Yep.
you're a Lakers fan. Okay, again, well, I've grown up in Minnesota, so with the NBA, the Wolves are. Let's not talk about that. Lynx, I'd be happy to talk about because I was on hand to see them capture all
Yeah.
4 of their titles as a beat writer, and I'll never forget those experiences.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, Carson, he's go. Oh no, Carson, he's trying to rile you up now. He's like Bucks in 6. LeBron goes down. Like, Carson, those might be
You
fighting
can say
words. I think maybe that'll be the next podcast. We'll have you and Carson go head to head.
Oh no.
Or, and I don't know who Mia cheers for. Maybe we can have her settle us or mediate.
Yeah.
Oh man, this has opened up so many opportunities. I'm excited. And Andrea wanted to add this. Carson says he's down. Okay, well, sometime later this year, maybe when we get close, we'll wait till we get closer to the playoffs. I think then it'll be
Okay.
appropriate. Let the
Yeah.
season play out because right now I know the Sixers are dealing with the coronavirus case and
Yep.
Seth Curry. So let's the time and place.
Yeah.
Let's get to the playoffs, and then we'll sort this out because
Yep.
we had to wait up until the fall for last year's championship.
Yep.
Andrea wanted to leave you with this. So many people who love you for you, and then just showered us with a bunch of hearts, like 10 of them.
Like 10 of them.
10 of them. Would that make her the queen of hearts?
Yeah, it would.
That was bad, I know. I'll show myself out now. Thanks for watching. This is why I have yet to make it on ESPN, because being an MCU fan, I am convinced the MCU, I say, is a bad influence because they have taught me that you can quip your way to the top. All you got to do is have a good one-liner ready, and
Yep.
you go far.
Yep.
But Caela, I do have to salute you. It's not often that an athlete reaches out to me and then to go right into your identity, your sexual identity, your journey with depression, having to fight through suicidal thoughts. I don't know if you ever went through those plans, and I don't think it matters because you were able to work your way through it. I can only imagine how everyone around you felt as they found out what was going on. And let's be clear, it's a scary time for everybody. You were saying before, it's hard. It really, really sucks
Yeah.
because I'm guessing you don't want to feel this way, but you can't fight your way out of it. For you, you don't feel like there's a way out, and it's just not a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But to be as open as you are as a senior, and still going through high school, so the world is still ahead of you.
Yeah.
What you've described, I know there are adults out there who still have yet to find the courage that you have. And as we stated before, who knows what will happen? You could have a relapse, and that is not a fault of yours or a weakness. That is just the nature of mental health.
Yeah.
We have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. So ideally, we'd like to think that the worst is behind us, but that could change in a hurry.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned and the responses that I saw from your family on the live stream, it touches me to know that you have this network and they will encourage you to be courageous, to take the bold step of putting yourself out there and not being afraid to reveal who you are.
Yeah.
They'll be the first to take that mask off if you need to. So,
Yeah.
Caela, I just want to say thanks for doing this, and thanks for reaching out and putting yourself out there like this.
Yeah.
We'll work on the dancing.
Yeah.
I would like to see your dance moves at some point.
Okay.
But like you said, being put on the spot. I mean, you put yourself on the spot with this podcast, but you had said, I wanted to share my story of mental health. I don't know how many other athletes are watching this live or will watch this afterward, but I know you're not the only one. even in the senior class who is dealing
Yeah.
with mental health struggles. And I have to speak generically out of respect for privacy,
Mhm.
but it's out there,
Yeah.
pandemic or not, you would still be dealing with it. So thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, Caela Tighe, you can see her at Big Lake. I know there are attendance restrictions with the pandemic. Hopefully, they will be lifted by March. We'll see what happens. But if you're not able to make it to a Big Lake game this winter, you can catch her next season at Concordia St. Paul with the Golden Bears, going up against Mia Huberty, playing alongside Lindsay Becker, Megan Gamble. Division II may not be the most prestigious, but as we said before, it's still a life-changing opportunity. And I can't wait to see what happens. If you want to be a guest for a future episode of this podcast, we're looking at you, Mia Huberty. Join us or reach out to us at the Mike Peden on Twitter or Instagram. All you need is a good story, and we'd be happy to share it. So until next time, thanks for watching.